places that will disappear in your lifetime. Ever since the invention of the airplane, people have been traveling the world to experience historic landmarks for themselves. While tourism can help increase the economy of any country, it can also have serious impacts to the landmarks people are visiting. If left unchecked, these landmarks will fade away into history, preventing any future generations from enjoying their beauty. These are 10 places that could disappear in your lifetime. Number 10. Machu Picchu. Located in the beautiful mountain region of Peru, Machu Picchu is one of the most familiar Inca cities to attract tourists. It is also one of the most significant sources of tourism dollars to Peru, making it a unique location that is facing severe threats from its popularity. The most prominent threat facing this historic landmark is the massive amounts of tourists attempting to experience it firsthand. The constant walking of tourists along the brick walkways has caused them to wear away and become fragile, and a sacred stone pillar in 2000 was heavily damaged after a crane crashed into it during the filming of a beer commercial. To help reduce the speed at which the city is being worn away, the government set up new rules of visitation for the attraction. Entrance to the actual area is limited to 2,500 visitors per day, and the Citadel was limited to 400 visitors per day during 2 strict time slots. They are also working to create a cable car that will connect to another Inca city in hopes to reduce the amount of foot traffic at Machu Picchu. Hopefully, this reduction of visitors will ensure that the monument lasts far into the future. Number 9. Everglades. Located in the southern tip of Florida, the Everglades is a unique ecological environment not seen anywhere else in the world. Packed with gators and other wildlife, the Everglades are home to a plethora of animals not seen in large populations anywhere else. Due to environmental issues facing the Everglades, the entire ecosystem has been under threat of disappearing for over a decade. Many of the animals that call this place home are at risk of extinction due to the increased population of the area. Animals such as the manatee are on the brink of extinction due to boating accidents by local boaters. Other animals, such as the well-known American crocodile, are being hunted to extinction. The Florida government has set up multiple laws and programs to help curb the rate at which the Everglades are being destroyed. The primary focus is cleaning the water that fills the Everglades, removing toxic chemicals that are causing massive deaths of native animals. They have also begun construction of new reservoirs to ensure that the water levels in the Everglades never drop significantly and put the numerous species of animals at risk of extinction again. While the government is working slow to improve and protect the Everglades, they should be able to help halt the decay of this beautiful environment before it's too late. Number 8. The Amazon. Home to some of the most beautiful animals and plants, the Amazon has always captured the attention of the world. The unfortunate part, however, is that for decades, this one-of-a-kind forest has been under numerous threats, causing it to disappear slowly over the years. While 86% of the rainforest is still intact, the rapid rate of deforestation and environmental issues have been causing that percentage to fall dramatically. In the past, the illegal collection of timber from the area was the largest cause of deforestation. And while the removal of timber is a significant factor in the deforestation, now the rise of soya farms have caused even more issues. Brazil has become one of the largest soya farming markets in the world, but has destroyed much of the Amazon to claim that spot. Many outside organizations have been trying to convince the Brazilian government to stop the deforestation of the Amazon with various degrees of success. Most of the government is using the forest as a way to help fund the country. Recently, the government approved a $40 billion investment to add new roads, power lines, and gas lines in the Amazon over the next few years. This move is expected to cause the Amazon to deteriorate even more and increase the spread of fires to the fragile forest. With a new Brazilian government in place, there is still hope that the world can come together to save this fantastic forest and its beautiful wildlife. Number 7. Taj Mahal. Over 7 million tourists flock to see this beautiful piece of architecture and history rooted in India. Usually, at the top of every list of things to see in your lifetime, the Taj Mahal is truly a one-of-a-kind location no one should miss. Unfortunately, due to environmental threats, the Taj Mahal may not survive another decade. Since India is one of the most populated countries in the world, it has a very high amount of pollution in the air. This pollution has caused the walls of the building to turn yellow and even some parts of the facade to be worn off by acid rain. If the pollution wasn't enough, in 2010 cracks were found in the monument as well as various parts of the building began to tilt. The India government is working hard to preserve this historic monument. It has set up a pollution control zone around the area that restricts the amount of emissions from cars and buses in the area. They have also moved to limit the number of tourists by selling tickets online, where they can control the exact number of people who come to the monument. With a crackdown on pollution and amount of tourism to the Taj Mahal, the government should be able to help this monument survive long into the future. Number 6. Tikal National Park. Once the capital of the thriving Mayan civilization, the Tikal National Park still stands as a symbol of where we came from. While the local government protects this park, it is still facing a constant threat of disappearing. While the national park brings in thousands of tourists, these tourists are one of the biggest threats facing the park. Some tourists will scratch and destroy the structures in the park and even take pieces of the historic city with them. These tourists also leave behind litter that the wildlife will attempt to consume, resulting in a massive spike in animal illnesses and deaths. The local government has been working with private organizations to help address the threats facing the park. One of the most significant ways they are trying to help the park is by hiring better security. The hope is that if the park can reduce the amount of vandalism taking place, they may be able to extend the life of the ruins for many more decades. Organizations are also working to protect the authenticity of the ruins by trying to prevent repairing the structures unless absolutely necessary. With the coordination between the local government and private organizations, hundreds of people are working to protect these ancient Mayan ruins so people can enjoy them safely for many years to come. Number 5. The Congo Basin. Covering over 1.5 million square miles, the Congo Basin is one of the largest rainforests on the planet. It is home to over 300 reptile species, 1,000 bird species, and is the only place in the world where all 3 subspecies of gorilla are found. While this ecosystem is vibrant with life, it is possible that within a few decades the entire forest could disappear. The biggest threat facing the basin is due to the unique timber that is available in the area. The basin is home to the largest amount of African teak, a timber that is used heavily in the construction of furniture and flooring. This has caused numerous companies to come into the region and begin to remove forest trees. While this has damaging effects on the vast wildlife in the area, it also has a massive impact on our environment. The basin acts as one of the primary sources of capturing carbon in the air before it is turned into carbon dioxide. While millions of dollars have been allocated to save the basin, preservation of the forest has come against the local corrupt government. Since the local government is still allowing companies to come in and remove the forest, global organizations are stepping up to fund restoration projects. They have been working to create new rules that will allow for the removal of trees, but also require the companies to support the local environment. While there is still a lot of work to be done to preserve this massive forest, many organizations are working day and night to save this environment for future generations. Number 4. Joshua Tree National Park. With over 800,000 acres of open land, this national park is home to dozens of unique species of wildlife along with over 700 plant species. But between environmental issues and constant threats of private companies moving in to use the land, the Joshua Tree National Park is continuously under threat of disappearing. One of the biggest threats to this area is the extreme drought that can sometimes overtake the region. And while the plants and wildlife native to this environment can survive small periods of drought, these delicate plants and wildlife still need water. Even though the United States government protects the park, numerous private companies have been lobbying to use the land for their gain. For over 20 years, a private company has been wanting to drain the water in the area and ship it to cities in Southern California for resale. The state and federal government have been working on new policies to protect this land. While some of these policies become law and are enforced, new administrations can always reverse the policy, allowing private companies to profit from this endangered environment. Thanks to private organizations focused on preserving this beautiful piece of desert, there is still hope that the Joshua Tree National Park will be around for many generations to enjoy. Number 3. Galapagos Islands. These islands are incredibly popular due to their historical significance. Today they are a popular destination spot for anyone wanting to relive a part of history for themselves. While these tourists help bring in money to the country of Ecuador, they are still having a negative impact on the island. The 2 significant threats facing the island are increasing tourists and a rise in invasive species. The massive amount of tourism to the island has increased the amount of fossil fuels and waste in the region. Since this waste is not being properly handled, it is beginning to impact the wildlife in the region, resulting in a high rate of animal deaths. Another side effect of the tourism is the sudden increase of invasive species present in the island. Usually brought to the island on boats, some new rats and plants are starting to take over the islands and kill off existing wildlife. Private organizations are working to develop new ecotourism activities to help reduce the impact the massive amount of tourists have on the island. There is also work being done by the local government to help reduce the amount of illegal fishing taking place in the island. Even though a lot of work is being done to preserve the Galapagos, there is still a ton of work left to make sure they do not disappear. Number 2. Great Wall of China. Voted as one of the new 7 wonders of the world, the Great Wall has always been an essential landmark to society. More than 10 million people visit the Great Wall every year to experience its enormous size and beauty. And while the wall has survived numerous wars, it is still under threat of disappearing today. The most substantial threat to the Great Wall comes from the massive amount of tourists that visit this landmark. Most tourists come to take photos on the wall and enjoy the scenery, while others are vandalizing the area. There are numerous examples of people carving their names into the stone that make up the wall, leaving a damaging mark on this historic landmark. If vandalism wasn't enough, recent illegal mining has caused a large section of the wall to collapse. Local preservation organizations in China have been working very hard to protect this national landmark. They are trying to convince the government group that gives the mining license to companies to simply restrict any mining near the wall to help protect its integrity. While this is slowly working, the preservationists are fighting against the ever-increasing economy that China is trying to grow any way it can. And while the preservationists are working to curb the vandalism by tourists with increased security and signs warning of the damage, the mining operations around the wall will still be its real downfall. Number 1. Great Barrier Reef. As one of the world's 7 natural wonders, the Great Barrier Reef is a fantastic piece of the world not seen anywhere else. Covering a massive 344,400 square kilometers, the Barrier Reef is home to thousands of reefs and wildlife that thrive in this unique environment. For decades, people have been working to protect the Great Barrier Reefs from disappearing, with various degrees of success. Since the corals that create the Great Barrier Reef are incredibly sensitive, they are disappearing at alarming rates. There are numerous factors to their disappearance, but 2 of the most significant ones are coral bleaching and the massive spike in industrialization of the region. Coral bleaching comes as an effect of global warming, where the oceans become too hot for the corals to survive, resulting in a massive decline of living corals. Coupled with global warming, the region is going through enormous growth. The increase of shipping traffic and dredging of the seafloor results in massive impacts to the wildlife living in the area. Since the Great Barrier Reef has been under threat for many years, there are numerous organizations working hard to preserve the delicate ecosystem of the region. Many of these organizations are working with the local government to introduce new rules about fishing and shipping traffic. With the combined effort of the world working to save this amazing landscape, there is a strong hope that the Great Barrier Reef won't disappear for many generations to come.